So let's just start. Let's start by going over our principles. Or do you just skip over this? Do we want to do a quick review of our principles that we just talked about? No? No? Okay, yeah, we're good. Do you think? Yeah, okay. Well, they're here. They're here. So we have the list here. And that's great. Okay. So let's just test our project. We probably should have done this before. Just to make sure it does the thing that we want it to do. So we can re-roll. And then we can hit save, which doesn't really do anything other than spit out class IDs in the debug log. And then on load, we're also not doing anything because that's what we need to get done in this lab. Okay, this way. All right. So what's the first thing we should do? What's the first thing we should do? The what?
Delete the middle part.
The middle part like this? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right, because that's doing stuff, right? That's actually, we are actually effectively loading. I didn't even notice that, but we are actually loading a dummy party when we hit load, right? Yeah, there it is. Dummy party. Okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, sorry, what? How it's supposed to be done? Yeah. I mean, like, we got to get it done. What's the first thing we do? Right? So the first thing we do, it's always this. So we generate a task list. So what are the things we need to do? What things do we need to do to solve this problem? Yeah, so figure out how to save, well, let's just say save stuff to HD. What else do we need to do? Huh? Yeah, figure out format. Figure out format of saved stuff. Okay, what else? What else do we need to do? Load stuff from HD. And stuff should, like, I should be more specific. Sometimes, like, if you can actually write out, like, really good, like, you need to solve this problem, you need to solve this problem. Forget who said it, but a well-phrased question is a problem half solved. A well-phrased question is a problem half solved. A problem well stated is half solved. There we go. A problem well stated is half solved. So, you know, maybe save data. That's not even improving the situation, but we get the idea. Although I maintain the point that, you know, really trying to write good action items for yourself can really help. I know that when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I take the time to write really good action items. It helps me a lot. It helps calm me down. And it helps me identify things that maybe I didn't see. But you have all solved this problem, and we're mostly doing this as a clean code exercise. So, okay. Is there anything else we need to do? Load data from HD. I think that's, you know, there's always something. There's always something I forget when I break down the problem into, like, the things I need to do. I always forget something. So let's not worry about it. Let's not worry about it. Let's just go. Okay. So to save data from the HD, how do we do that? Well, I do have a link here to did I get rid of the link? It's on the assignment instructions. But anyways, it doesn't matter. We're just going to go over here. We're going to go C# stream writer. And we go to the documentation. And we notice, oh, we need system.io. So let's go pop that. Let's go pop that in our code. No. System.io. Okay. And then what else do we need? Um, oh, question. So I saw this with a lot uh, of your stuff, and maybe we can even go back here to our class notes and say, don't use keywords you do not need slash normally use. Okay, just because like I know that like over here in this example, they do this in a using statement, right? But notice, like, just to be clear here, this using keyword is different than this using keyword, right? Like they're different in what they're doing. Um, how many of you have done this before? Where you use like a using thing? Yeah. So in my opinion, you shouldn't. Unless this is something you do all the time, even if you see it in documentation, like take the time to understand the documentation, right? And by the way, so what that's doing is it's yeah, it automatically closes the file, which by the way is something that I think it's better that you discover that you need to do on your own than, you know what I mean? Like this is one of the reasons why you shouldn't use a keyword that you don't necessarily understand, right? Because you actually want to hit the problem and explore that problem first. So anyways, I'm going to take this code here and I'm going to, oh wait, I'm going to, well, whatever, I'll know if it's, and I'm going to put this here. And oh my God, this formatting. Okay, so let's comment out this because that's, so, and then we get rid of this there, and then I redo this to format because I forgot how to auto format. All right, so we got that. Oh, by the way, also, one thing, I don't know if this is in the clean code assignment that I wrote up. My clean code assignment, intro to clean code. Yeah, it's not on here, but it was a hard cut. It was really hard for me to cut, but Sandy Metz, she has a talk, and I think it's on Rust programming or something. It's like an unrelated programming language. I mean, the why of Go is on an unrelated programming language as well. But it's she makes a really good point that says, choose your abstraction and clean your code after you've solved the problem. Like just get it working, and then let's attack it with all of our ideas on what makes clean code, right? All of these ideas we're going to attack in a second, because like I mean immediately, like what the f is that, right? Like that's just a name somewhere, you know. So let's just go party save data, right? Let's just for now. We don't need directories, right? But what we do need is sw dot write line. Ooh, apparently you can't type today, so let's just get some gibberish down. And then what we do also need is to go sw.close. Okay? sw.close. How many of you I asked this last class, but how many of you discovered that you need to close your stream after opening it? Yeah. How did you discover that? I mean, you didn't use the using statement. Good for you.
I got an error.
Yeah, you got an error. And what that happened how? Do you remember or?
I
No, that's okay. You know what? You know what? Let's just take it slow and let's just trigger the error. Let's just trigger the error. So I'm not going to close the stream, and we're going to see. It should be, I think, a file is already open error. I think that's the name of the error, but it's better. It's said better than I just said it. So let's go find the error. Let's go find the error. Okay, so I hit save party, and then I hit save party, and oh, boom. Okay, IO exception, sharing violation on path. My teaching thing, streaming data lab, party save data.txt. And it says, oh, sharing violation, right? So, I mean, I already said what caused the error, but how do we solve this otherwise? Well, we'd go to Google and we'd shove it in Google. Try loading my game. It worked before. I trust that you've rebooted the first. Wow, okay. Well, anyways, you might have to do some reading. Is that like the son from Teletubbies? My God. Oh my God, and it's like Klingon? Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Oh, and the members from the UK, which makes it even better, right? Because Teletubbies they're English. They have English accents in their baby speak. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, but anyways, so we Google the error and we find out before you can reopen a stream, you need to close it. That's important. So then we put in the sw.close, right? Does this kind of mirror how you discovered it? The problem there, or you got that's yeah, kind of what happened. So we hit save again, we hit save again, and we're Gucci. I think where are we saving? Was it teaching streaming data lab? Right up here. Party save data.txt. Okay. And let's just look at this, and that's what we wrote, right? Okay, cool. What's the next thing? I forgot how to solve stuff. What's the next thing I do? Hmm? I mean, oh, okay, no. I mean, we could. We have the thing over here. So we have a stream reader. Well, let's just take all this because that's useful, and then we're going to get rid of our using statement. But I'm just going to go over here, and I'm just going to comment this out because we're going to need it. But then let's put this here. We go stream reader, and we're going to take this. Right, and we're going to read our stream, and then we can't console.writeLine. We have to go debug.log. Okay. And what do we have to do when we're done with our stream? Yeah. Booyah. Okay, cool. So let's just test that. So I'm going to go load, and we got a bunch of stuff in our debug log. Cool. So we're loading from the HD, and we're saving. What's the next thing we need to do? It's this problem of format, right? And we can start by saving one character. So this was really where a lot of our conversation centered around last time, right? A lot of our conversation centered around this. So I want to talk about formats, right? I mean, does somebody want to give me an answer? I'll go program it. Go from there. Or maybe, you know what? Maybe let me just show you what I recommend at this point, because you've all done, like, yeah, no. Last class we partnered up and we did it again, and you had already done it once. So let me just show you what I would classify as the cleanest solution that very much conforms to what we wrote here, right? Very much conforms to what we wrote here. So let me just answer. I feel like I'm breaking from my preferred teaching style of letting you folks solve stuff, but let me compile a lot of our thinking. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is constant. Or, const, do you have to? Yeah, const int we'll say character or hero. Character or hero, what do we call them? Character, okay, character. Because character's ambiguous with like a char, right? Like char? Party character, yeah. party character, yeah, PC, right? Player character, PC. Okay, party character. Acronyms line up. Okay, that's nice, right? No, but do you see how we took a second to select a name? That's important, yeah? Sorry, what? Yeah. I mean, let me double check that to make sure I haven't screwed it up. Yeah, we're 15 minutes in. It's being recorded, so I'll throw it up somewhere. Oh, okay. Yeah, you got to head out. Cool. Yeah. No, I'll make sure you get a link. Okay. So party character equals. Let's just go with 1, right? I mean, I know starting with 0 is colloquial, but and then I'll go number 2. Oh, I'm going to call it party character signifier. Signifier. And then I'm going to go number 2. Equipment signifier. Fire. Okay. All right. So we don't want these right lines. These are not the right lines that we want. We want to do is loop through our characters. And let's get rid of that. And I'm going to write a line that's going to start with party character signifier plus comma excuse me, and then I'm going to go PC dot what's a good, so start with class ID plus comma PC dot health mana. Yeah, we got a plus comma, right? So this looks relatively familiar, right? We're using CSV, which we talked about last class. We're separating with commas. PC dot mana plus comma plus PC dot strength. Okay. Plus, oh no, plus comma plus, do this on multiple lines, PC, oh my goodness, PC dot what, agility next? Yeah, it's just like Dota notation, strength AGI, then like int. It's like I don't know, just I know from Dota that's like the way that they're always listed. So whatever. PC dot strength. It's the last one we know to cover, right? Yeah. Oh no, we covered strength. Wisdom's the last one we got to cover. My God. Okay. And just to make our lives a little bit easier, I'm gonna get this line. Okay, cool. And now while we're in here, I'm gonna save our equipment. So I'm gonna go for each int e in PC dot equipment. I'm going to take the equipment signifier and put it there. And then I'm going to go comma, plus comma, and then E. And then okay. So this is the format that I'm choosing to save in. Let's just validate that it worked. So I save. And then I'm going to hit play. And then I'm going to hit save party. And then I'm going to go to, it's over here, yeah, here. Yeah, well, that looks right to me. So that's a character, and that's a piece of equipment, and that's a piece of equipment, and that's a piece of equipment. Too small. Yep.
Doesn't matter what the signifier is, or
Could be anything, right? I mean, it would be colloquial to start with 0 and then go to 1. right? I don't know, I just used one because I thought it was more. Anyways, whatever.
So like, can it be like, I don't know, like a letter?
Yeah, I mean, I have in the past used like keywords, right? If I'm working with like a level designer and they'll be editing the CSV, I use keywords. Like I use a word start rather than a number. Yeah, yeah. So use your good judgment based on your context, right? But good question. Yeah, yeah. Here I think just using a number is good. Oh, good question. Why didn't I use enum here? Right? There's a reason why this isn't an enum, and it's a silly little thing, but it's like if this was an enum, we would have to typecast it to an integer, and then typecast the integer to a string. Because if you typecast an enum to a string, you just get the name of it written in code, right? And that always gets me. That always like I always slip that up. So I always use a hard type whenever. And this has become like a little colloquial thing. Like if I'm serializing, then I'll use a hard type, and if I'm not, then I'll use an enum. And because of that, if I see one of my ID like enum things, but it's a hard type, I'm like, oh, I'm serializing somewhere. It's kind of actually helps me read. But anyways, it helps me read what my intention behind my things. Okay. All right. So now when I read each line, okay, well, first of all, remember we said in our clean code thing, where are we here? Do only one thing on each line, right? Does this line here, so what's happening on this line? Well, first of all, we have a function call and a variable assignment, and then our variable assignment is being checked against null, right? This is a really shitty line. I'm actually shocked that they have it in the documentation, you know? I'm kind of shocked that they have it there, right? So we can go sr dot, which is our stream reader dot, has, what is it? Peak? End of stream? Gets a value that indicates whether the current stream position is at the end of the stream. So I think that'll work. So I think we can go, well, not sr end of stream. I think that will work. Let's test it. Let's just start off by testing that. So we go there, then we take our read line, and we put it here, and then we go this, and let's just see if that does work. Okay? Let's just see if that does work. To see if end of stream is what I think it is. If it's not end of stream, it's something else. There's another thing that'll let us do what I want to do there, but it's been a little while. So let's hit load. Yeah, I think we hit everything. So let's just go look at our file. Yeah, that looks right. The last 3 lines. Target is null. That's weird. That's from my other program. What's that there? Close. That's from my AI. This is also from my. Oh, I have multiple terminals open. Sorry, I'm still getting to learn Visual Code. So build output. Oh yeah, because our output's over here. Sorry. So yeah, these 3 lines. Those are our 3 final lines, right? Okay, cool. So let's re-roll. I always re-roll until I get like 3, and then let's hit load. Yeah, it looks good to me. Looks good to me. I mean, wait, does that look good? Oh yeah, that does look good. Okay. Yep, 3 pieces of equipment. Okay, cool. So now what do we do? How much time do we have here? Okay, good, we have time. So now what's the next thing we do? Right? What's the next thing we do? Yeah, we got to take our we got to actually load the line into our characters, right? We have to interpret the lines that we're reading to do something meaningful. So I'm just going to set this up. So I'm going to take this up here at the top of the function. I'm going to clear the characters, right? So we'll keep the debug log here, but what we need to do is we need to go, we need to declare a string array. Let's call it CSV, and then we'll say equals string.split. We talked about this last class, right? String.split versus lowercase string, lowercase s. No, not string dot split. Wait, what was it? I think it's a using statement I'm missing. I think that's the problem. Yeah. Oh no. Oh, so just to be clear, the answer you're saying there's like split. You can go line.split because line is start of type string. So this is a way that you can split. You can use it like this. I personally, this is just a preference thing. This isn't, but I think string.split, no, or is it lowercase string? One second, let me Google it. How do I normally do that? C# string split. Yeah. Okay. Well, no. Let's just do it this other way. But I feel like there is another way that I've written it before. But yeah, let's just go line.split. Wait, didn't some of you do it with like the string.split way or something? We had a conversation about this last class. Do you guys remember that, or it's very superficial, huh?
When we started coding,
Yeah.
I just figured out that
Yeah.
it's easier to use this way than.
Oh yeah. No. It's like, which way do you want to call? It's fine for either way, right? Like it'll do the trick. I just yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I guess I like my static calls a bit more. That's okay. It's very irrelevant. We'll come back to that later, and we can discuss it. The pros and cons. That is okay. So what we have now is the line split into CSV, right? This is something that not all of you did, but this is something I'm going to want you guys doing moving forward. So int signifier equals CSV element 0. And right now, what's the error? We can't convert from string to int. Well, we can go int. We go int.parse. And now we have a signifier, right? And this is the first element in our line, right? So it's this constant, or it's this constant. It's one of them. So let's grab them. I grab that, and then I'm going to scroll back down here. I'm going to go signifier. So I'm going to go if. Yeah, let's go signify equals. Right. Okay. What? Oh, come on. Okay, and then it doesn't crash. Okay, and then it doesn't crash, but it said it stopped responding. Whatever. Okay. So if we're up here, then we know that we are loading one of these lines, right? So what I like to do is I just copy this here and just put that there just so we know. So I'm going to go, and now I'm going to grab this here, party character, PC. This is the line that we need. So party character. So this is, oh yeah, so class ID, health, mana, strength, agility, wisdom. Right? Okay. 3, 4, and 5. Oh, and 6. Okay, cool. And then we add that to our answer, to our party characters. Okay. Now, if we hit the equipment signifier, then we want to add to the last created character, right? Because we want, so we can go, there's a few ways we can do this. We can go take this and go dot last dot value dot equipment dot add last, and then grab this here. Right, we can do that. But this line is kind of resolving a lot. So I don't personally like to do that. The other way to do this is like to take this, we put it in here, and then we go over here. Oops. PC. Right. And then we have access to PC here. Those little leg spikes. And it's saying it may not have been initialized. That's the error. Use of unassigned. So we got to make that null up here. And now it will work for us. Yeah, and the last thing we need to do is call refresh UI. And now we are done. Well, I mean, to start, we're done. Let's put it right here. Okay. We got to clean it up now. How many of you have ideas on how we can clean this up? I mean, we're going to test to make sure it works, but now we need to clean this up, right? So there's one thing that I did do, which actually I would like to talk about before I ask that question. Just because there was discussion about it last class. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to re-roll. I'm going to load. Looks good to me. Looks good to me. Right, re-roll, save party, re-roll, load party. Looks good to me. Okay. So differences on so what are some different ways that we could have handled equipment? Yeah, we could have done it on one line. Right? We could have done it on one line. Why do you think I chose this way instead?
Or like later down the road, just if you want to add functionality.
Yeah. No, like let's say we had to add perks, right? We just come up here, declare a new constant. I would just go here, copy, for each perk.
Yeah, would we still can pay perks also as one line?
Yeah. So then what would happen if we were, so to put it all in one line, what would we have to do?
their accounts as well.
Yeah, yeah. We'd have to set up account.
Because we can just feed to
Yeah.
the lines
So on your first piece of thing, you can get around that because you can use length, right? But if you have equipment's perks and three other things all on one line, then you can't use length anymore.
No, I mean, we can use line for equipment, line for works, line for something else.
Oh yeah, no, which is what we have here, right?
No, I mean, all equipment on one line, all works on one line.
Okay, okay. Yeah. Yeah, so we could do that. So we could roll into this like all equipment on one line, and then we could use length, right?
But what if like equipment has modifiers?
Yeah, no, that's another thing. So like let's say we had for each equipment here, there was equipment had an ID, but then it also had a list of gems, right?
Okay, that just makes sense
Yeah,
to let it to.
yeah. So there is that. So that is a reason to do that. The bigger reason I actually recommend leaning into a little bit into lines, and it has to do with whenever you're checking the length or whenever you're using a count, you're incorporating an additional nestled loop, right? So when we're reading here, this is our one loop. We have one loop in this solution right now. Just one. Just one. There's no nestling of loops, right? And that keeps our code like the utility of looping is available right up here with our while, right? So, and we don't actually need any more loops. So it is fewer lines of code, right? There's less code to read, and we don't have multiple loops inside of each other, right? Which is a major place of complexity, right? So we're reducing all of our looping needs to one place here, right? Now, if we were really interested in fighting for every byte that we're sending to the hard drive and loading from the hard drive, we might want to switch up that tactic. But for simplicity and for consistency, right? Like this strategy will be very consistent. If we add perks, we just add a new line, put your perk there, right? If we add, color preferences, just a new signifier, followed by whatever data we need, right? Very easy to read. Also very easy to read as a text file, right? Like this you can actually understand, right? This you can actually understand, I think, very clearly. So yeah, so I encourage avoid adding, especially once you're already inside of a loop, a second loop, right? Nestling loops is just an area where things can go wrong, right? Just an area where things can go wrong. Specifically, when you come back 2 months later to modify your code, and you have to read it, and you're not on top of everything that you were on top of when you first wrote it, right? Right. So in the Why of Ghost talk, Carmen Ando, she points out this idea that programming is a big thing to learn how to do, right? But when you're working on something all day, every day for multiple months or even years, you're doing programming over time. And that's another huge problem to figure out. Programming over time becomes a mess, right? So there's all sorts of tactics that people have. So like bank programmers. Did you know that when most bank programmers do something called test-driven development? Have any of you heard of that yet? Test-driven development? You've heard of it? Yeah.
Never did, but heard of it.
Yeah.
I think we did like a few tests in this course.
Oh yeah. Surprise. So as a game programmer, I'm not a big fan of TDD. I mean, definitely not for myself when I'm working on a solo project, right? But when you're working in a bank, you cannot ship errors. You cannot ship flaws. Now, what happens if somebody comes and makes a system and breaks something that you worked on 3 months ago? It's going to happen, right? So what they do is they write a bunch of tests to test their code, unit tests, right? And they actually write their unit tests before they write their code. And that's part of their sort of formal hypothesization process. But anyways, that's a major tactic to reduce this problem of programming over time, right? Which is the subject matter I want to return to here is whenever we look at our code, imagine if you have, and this is one of the major problems with school is we have you writing throwaway code, right? You write the code, you hand it in, and then you throw it away. But how many of you have worked on a project for more than a month? Okay. After the month mark, how often do you get yourself into a situation where you add one thing and you break two other things? Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, exactly right. Exactly. And that's kind of your that's we're going to talk about that next semester extensively. That's called technical debt, right? And you need strategies to avoid technical debt, right? Simplicity and consistency are godsends, right? Simplicity and consistency are godsends. Okay, cool. So we talked about why the choice towards a new line for each piece of equipment. Now let's go to the previous question that I posted. How can we clean this up? How can we clean this up? I really should have just put a 1. I should have done 1 here, right? And then you guys could have been like, oh, you should make that a constant, right? Because I see it every year. I'll look at somebody's code and they'll just have like hard code at like floating numbers. It's called floating numbers, right? We can add that to our list, but yeah, like whenever you have like a number that's just sitting in your code, it's called a floating number, and you should never really have those. I mean, sometimes it's okay, but it really should always be a constant because a constant communicates information. A floating number is kind of like, well, asking the person to figure it out, right? Okay, how can I clean up this code? What else can I do? Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. What do you mean? Yeah, like this. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So we can go const. I guess char, just char, because it's only one thing. Um, sep. We'll go sep char, separator character, right? Cool. Yeah, no, that's a big one. That's a big one. So actually, I'll just do this. Uh-huh. Uh, oh, oh, second. Yeah, I didn't. I was just afraid that I replaced this one, right? Yeah, no, I was like, okay. Okay, so we do that, and then I hit replace, 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 replace. And then even here, on our split, we can go sep char. Okay. And why didn't this one pop up?
Because it has the different.
Oh, yeah, because I did double quotes. Okay, good. Okay, cool. All right, lovely. Great call. Okay, what else can I do? Okay, well, like maybe this? Yeah. So something like that, maybe. Ooh, okay, so you're saying like something like this? Right? Let's do 2. 2, right? Sure. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that makes it a lot easier to read, right? It's kind of a main thing, but like I think that's a lot easier to read than yeah. Like this is kind of wild, right? I like to whenever I do this though, I like to have the like the operator, the or the plus or whatever it is, right there. Right. So let's do. Yeah, that's a lot easier to read. Sorry. Yeah.
The brackets in the for each loop. I know that it's only one line and it will work like that, but Like, is it okay to just put the brackets there in the for each loop?
Sorry, the brackets in which?
In the for each loop, for equipment,
Sorry, what?
for equipment, for each loop in the.
Oh, like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
No, I mean, actually, when I like, whenever I code like first year stuff or like the sample code that I'm writing, I try to always do that. I try to do that because it does help. And I think that goes towards this idea of like consistency. I mean, it's one that I think, it's probably the most okay to introduce that second piece of sort of syntax shorthand. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're right. I think this is actually where you have to ask who you're writing your code for. Like, who's going to be reading this code? If it's somebody who's like a practiced engineer, like, don't worry. But if it's like a first year student, I bet you this would help a lot, right? But yeah, no, okay, I'm down with that.
Also,
Yep.
you can mark like region or extract like methods to
Mm-hmm.
mark down like code.
No, that's very interesting. Where could we do that?
I mean, I would have inside of for each loop extract everything into methods and just name it something like save character.
So wait. So like, sorry, say that again.
I would have taken everything inside of like here, like this one loop, like where
Here?
we're saving it. No,
Where we're saving it. Yep.
Yeah, so I would have extracted it into the methods like save character.
Okay, so you're saying like put in like like here, put a like save character like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So this actually was a bit of the topic last time, right? Where I said no. Finish writing your solution and then choose your abstraction. So this is an approach because it's this idea of like, well, wait a second here. How can we package this? Right? How can we divide this into smaller, more easily usable units? And then this opens up the question of like, well, what are the smaller pieces that we can cut this into? Right? So that's an interesting one. So that's this idea of like a save character. And that would be like private void save character, and then you'd have to go was it party character PC, and you'd have to go stream writer SW, right? And you pass those. What's the problem here? Oh, static. Oh, and spelling. Okay. Right? So this is this idea. It's an interesting one. I like the direction of it, but not the specific.
Maybe like serialized character.
Yeah. So that's an interesting piece of language. Serialized. Do you want to share what that means? Oh wait, we covered that last class, right? Serialized.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Serialize and deserialize, and what was the other one? Martial and unmartial were the older terms that were used in language, right? Yeah, but this will work, right? So let me finish implementing this solution, right? So you go PC and then SW, and that will work. That will work just as it was before, right? But you're suggesting a different abstraction around the language of serialization, right? So this is actually a tricky problem. This is probably the trickiest part of writing this as clean code, if not the use of the signifier, right? And what Sandy Metz suggests is that you have to really kind of interrogate the abstraction that you choose because it's not obvious, right? But I want to use one of the tools that we talked about over here, right? This idea of mice in place and grouping like things, right? So we could do save character as like a subdivide, and then we could also do like save equipment as a subdivide, right? But I mean, save equipment would just be one line, so it's not that big of a deal. But this does help to make our code more polite, right? Just to be clear, this does improve our code as far as I'm concerned, because now it's like, okay, yeah, we want to save our character, cool. And if we want to read about how we're saving our character, we go here, right? But again, it is one line. I mean, I know we have it spaced out on multiple lines, right? But it's like it is this one line thing. So I'm going to take up this other suggestion that we were given. Serialize. Serialize. Oh shit. Did I don't know how to auto format in Visual Studio. Oh geez. In Visual Studio Community. There we go. Okay. So we have this here, but this idea of serialize. Serialization. So what if I told you we could take this and remove that and put this over here, go down here, and we can go static private void serialize. There's no E there. Serialize party characters. I mean, serialize party. Just, what do we want? Serialize party? We'll come back to that. Language does matter. I'm going to put that in there, and we're going to pass in. Well, I guess we just use the party character. So we'll go, yeah, serialize party characters. And to spell that right. And then we're going to return a linked list of strings. Okay, a linked list of strings is what we're going to return. And we're going to go string, serialized party characters. And then we're going to new it first of all. Let's do that right there. And then we're going to return it. Return. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go serialize characters.add last. Okay. So we're not going to write line. We're just going to, wait, what? What's the, 1 second here. Let me fix that. So what's this? Cannot convert from int to. Yeah. This we need to cast this string. They make you use the toString. That's new. This is still okay. Okay, cool. So then we're gonna have to do the same over here, but. toString, right? So now we have this this linked list of strings, which represents our serialized characters. Okay, and this is one process. So I'm going to take this line here, and then I'm going to go up to our load, right, which is now quite barren, or pardon me, our save, and I'm going to go serialized party characters equals, right? And then over here, I'm going to go for each string line in sw.writeLine, right? So now we have separated two very different logical processes, right? In here, we have the logical process. Here, I should point with this because I'm recording. In here, this is the logical process right here of saving to the hard drive, right? That's a framework tool. That's a framework tool. That's this idea of we're using a tool to do something. And you know, like I mean, if we go here, so we haven't cleaned up this with the same concept yet. But it's like over here, we're doing something with our user interface. Then over here, we're doing something with a framework tool, right? Then over here, oh, by the way, I'll push this to a public repo for us. Like, if you're trying to copy, like, I'll just follow, just chill. Right? So sorry. So this is like a framework tool. Then over here, we're loading stuff into a thing. We're deserializing, and then even over here, we're going back to manager UI, right? So in here, we have like this huge web of like, we're like doing three different things. We're managing our user interface. We're working with a tool to load stuff from the hard drive, and we're deserializing, right? We're on marshalling. That's three different that's just three different processes. So whenever somebody reads our code here, we're saying, oh, be aware of three things at once, right? This is also a classic example of like if we kept adding one more thing into this mess, eventually we would enter a space where it's now complex. It's no longer simplistic. And that's us losing our high ground. That's us losing control of as we scale, right? And this might not, I mean, it's really not that big of a deal in this instance because you're all good enough programmers that you can manage the complexity here. It's not hindering you. But by the time you pass the halfway mark in this course, right, that will be a different story, And it's really interesting because like this course by the end, if you keep your code clean, it'll be astoundingly simple. Super simple. Not hard at all. And you'll be able to like add to your systems and expand them and just like no problem. If you don't keep your code clean, be different. Okay, anyways, let's actually get to this. So like again, we read this, right? See how like this just like, I mean, this reads really nicely, right? This reads really, yep.
Like when we're doing stuff like this, should we like comment like our rationalization for like the design decisions that we make?
That's yeah.
Like it's good practice to
Yeah. No, that
expand
Yep.
any like
Yep.
variables to
Yep.
add like different stats,
Yep.
but for like an RPG, like
Mhm.
I don't think like designers are like halfway through development going to be like, oh, there's this new character stat.
Oh, they will all the time, actually. Yeah, I guarantee you. Even when I'm like the designer on my own project, and I know the pain of having to. No, it's just like so requirements, programming requirements change all the time, and that's actually one of the challenges of clean code, of good architecture, is to code in such a way where you can discover a requirement halfway through production, and you're not screwed. Right? That's one of the advantages of clean code, actually. So I'm glad you brought that up. And there was something else that you brought up at the beginning there, which was like, should we write some comments to describe our design intentions? And actually, you should write a doc, right?
Yeah.
So like, I think in first year we gave you, I'm pretty sure I remember watching a lecture where Alex, he linked like, oh, and this is how you should name your variables. We have a document on it, right? Good companies will have that. Right? Good companies will have it. I don't really care. I mean, there's the whole _M. Have any of you seen that? That's actually good practice, and I'd say that's the most professional, and camel case and stuff like that. Just be consistent. Just be consistent. I'm not asking you to write a doc. Just be consistent internally, and be to the point where you could write that doc. That if you were working with a team, or rather than writing the doc, you could communicate really quickly with your team. Like you all code the thing and then you realize you've named your variables with different consistencies and you're like, oh, well, how should we do this on this project? And you have that conversation early, right? Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna do the same thing, right? So you see how much easier that just got to read? Like that just became a lot easier to read, right? And it's this idea of separating different processes, right? So the process of serialization has been separated, right? And the process of writing, to the hard drive is just here. Okay, so the load party button pressed. let's implement the same idea. Let's implement the same idea. So I'm going to write a function down here, static private void deserialize party characters. And I'm going to take in a linked list called serialized party character data. Okay? And what I want this function to do is basically what we have going on here. I mean, we're going to have to change the form of it. And I'm going to say for each string, what do we call it? Oh, line. Line's what we're using. Serialized. Oh, apparently I don't know syntax. All right. Oops. Okay. There we go. And we will PC equals null. There we go. And that's our deserialization, right? But to make our deserialization work, we need a linked list of our our thing here. So let's get rid of this, and let's make linked list string. We'll call it lines maybe. I feel like that could be better. We'll come back to that. So I'm just going to go line, and I'm going to go lines.addLast line, and I'm going to get rid of this. And then I'm going to say deserialize party content, and I'm going to pass in lines. There we go. Yeah. So I think we should move the sr.close. This is one of the other things that happens when you clean up your code, right? Like you're like, oh yeah, like let's get all of that like data stuff together. Okay. So I think that'll work. Do we want to serialize? Let's change lines to serial. Let's change it to what we have here, serialized party character data. I like that language more than lines. Okay. Yep.
We are making this metaphorical, right?
Yep.
But we are using the like serialization.
Yep.
Because we know that we are doing several things for the same character.
Mm-hmm.
So we are doing like a series of things,
Mm-hmm.
and then we put them together.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're doing something different, would it be fine just to use functions? Like if you wanted doing a series of things for the same thing, which is the character.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 I think that's actually maybe no. I think you're right. So I actually don't like the fact that because like party character is not the only thing that we're deserializing here. We're deserializing equipment. We're deserializing perks. If we had a full RPG game going on here, we might be deserializing settings that the player had saved, like their volume setting, or you know what I mean. Like I feel like so. Do we understand the question? It's like, do we want to like? No, I think you're right, and I think that actually what you've just suggested is an iteration on our variable naming now, because it's like no, we don't want to limit our variable naming to this idea of party characters, right? Even though equipment kind of fits into party characters, right? We really don't, because maybe we have like 20 other pieces of data that we're we're serializing and deserializing here that aren't related to the party characters directly, like your progression through the game, right? Like what's your current, like, or your or the location where you saved at, right? So that's actually really good, and it's the type of thing. This is where we're thinking about variables is actually really tricky because you actually have to like cast ahead. But yeah, like I think just serialized data is a stronger name for that very reason, right? And deserialized party characters, maybe we should go deserialize save data. That's a stronger name. Yeah, deserialize save data. And we'll go serialized data.
Yeah, but I mean, why did you choose serialization, like to serialize things?
Oh, like the language of serialize?
Yeah, not the language itself, like doing that.
Yeah. So I mean, this is one of these kind of like like what is the right abstraction to choose? Very hard to answer that, right? Very, very, very hard to answer that. Um, I think serialization and deserialization is representative of one of the more complicated parts of this problem, right? Actually, the most complicated part of the problem. So we've actually thus chosen an abstraction that centers around the most complicated part. There is another reason, which is like, so like specifically in this course, the midterm exam. There's an optional midterm exam. It's optional. You don't have to do it. We might do it in class, just as like a review thing, right? Rather than doing a review of something you've already done, we'll do a review of a slightly different problem, which is the optional exam. I know some people also like to like, do any of you like to write an exam? Like study and then write an exam and ace and kill that exam? And no, it's just kind of, yeah, no, I mean, I do have, I have talked to students that are like, yeah, no, I love acing an exam, right? And so I just want to have that as a feature of this course without pushing it on you. So I have a midterm and a final exam. If you write it, I'll mark it. Um, sorry, what was going? Oh yeah. Sorry. So the midterm exam is to take this streaming data lab, implement a server-client relationship, and have it so two clients can trade parties. So I can send my party to you, right? I can send my party to you. When we do that, we would actually be reusing the serialization function. Because serializing your party to save it on the hard drive is the exact same thing as serializing to send it across the network. And getting that data from the network and deserializing. Yeah, that's actually why I started you off with saving and loading from the hard drive, because the process of serialization and figuring out that and deserialization is actually, it's going to be directly transferable, right? But no, like you open a really good question of like, well, what is the right abstraction to choose? And like I would prefer if we said we don't know, right? And this is just the best answer for now. But yeah. No, thank you very much for the question.
As
Great
far
question.
as I know, that the netcode in Unity only accepts serialized data. So is that part of the reason why you are extracting the serializing and deserializing?
Yeah. So the netcode in Unity will allow us to send a stream of data. That's a transport layer. That's also like UDP or TCP, right? Which has been around since the 70s. Like UDP and TCP are like solid technologies. They've been around forever, right? They're the backbone of the internet in a lot of ways. Um, and with both of those, you need to serialize, right? Those aren't Unity. That's not the tool we're going to use. But like, I had one of my students last year. He was really into MMOs. He wanted to learn how to make MMOs. So we got him using UDP and running a cloud, like a headless server in the cloud. And yeah. Anyways, so sorry. Did I answer your question, or is it kind of so you will need to use this for the netcode coming up, serialization and deserialization. Yeah. Yeah, there's some tools that Unity has, like the high level APIs. We'll talk about those towards the end of this course, but those are kind of just like watch a YouTube video and then implement that. That's not net coding. Like you're not, that's, you know, and it's not even a really good solution that they have there. It's kind of this like they constantly spam across the network the position and velocity of their objects. And that's kind of not efficient. Like it's a lot of data. It's great for student projects because it just solves a problem for a demo, but like that's not how World of Warcraft runs, right? Like that's not an efficient solution, scalable. Um, sorry, but did I answer your question or?
Kind of.
God, yeah. Do you want to ask a follow-up question or?
So why do we use an array or list instead of
Hmm.
You can.
Oh, sorry, what? No.
I said you can't
You can't. What?
for the network.
Use a list.
Yeah.
So when you read the code really clearly, you're actually sending across a byte array. A byte array. And under the hood, actually, you're sending across a byte array, and there's like an EOF tag. So like what's commonly used is like less than, EOF, greater than, and a file tag, which is like, and under the hood, it just keeps reading until it reads that tag, until it's like, oh, okay, you're done sending the byte array, right? But it's actually just an array of bytes under the hood. And then for simplicity's sake, so I have had students in the past go and make it so the serialization systems that and deserialization work with an array of bytes. And that is more efficient, specifically when you get into floating points, right? Because when you serialize a floating point into an array of characters in a string, it's like, dude, that's like 20 characters, right? And normally you want to cap at like the 6th decimal point because it's like, okay, well, you don't even need that anymore, right? But if you were to serialize to a byte array, that would only be 4 bytes for your float, right? So that is actually like if you were gonna go to like make World of Warcraft, you'd want to serialize to your byte array, right? But for now, I have it set up for you, so it's like it's serializing, and then to a byte array, but it takes in a string, and then immediately when it receives the byte array, it encodes it to a string, right? So that you can just use the same string techniques that you're using here. But I will say that if you do want to jump to the byte array thing, it's actually very easy if you've been using CSV in the way that we have. And it's one of the other reasons why we should use this method, right? It's actually like by using CSV like this, you're training yourself to be capable of doing so. If you want to look at 2 other serialization formats, JSON, XML, and YAML. YAML is what Unity uses for its scriptable objects. JSON is very common. And XML is used like if you ever need to have like a serialization that an end user might open and edit themselves, XML is the favorite, right? JSON is the one that's used for big data. If you're interested, there's an optional lab that you can do at the end of the course where you actually interact with a software as a service called Scryfall that's hosting everything MTG. All the card images, all the card data, and you can send requests to the Scryfall thing saying, hey, give me all the data for this set. And it'll be like, here, dude. You know, very cool shit. That's JSON. JSON also uses a thing called the dynamic keyword in C#. Very cool shit. Very bulky. All 3, YAML, XML, and JSON, bulky as shit. And they don't train you to go to the byte level. They hide the complexity from you, right? So that's why I advocate for CSV in a course like this, because it's really just training your mind. Okay, that was a rant. Is that? Yeah, that was a rant. Thank you for your questions. Yeah, no, really good questions being asked here. Okay, 1 second. So I was mid-operation on changing serialized party characters to serialized data. See if I can spell it right. Because serialized data is actually much more open to what we might be including if this was an actual RPG game, right? And language matters. So deserialize save data, serialize save data. Nope. Oh boy, I'm getting a lag spike here. Serialize. Save data. Is that what the? What the? Oh man, I messed that up. Oh, okay. Serialize. Save data. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I mean that's a thing. Okay. What else do we have here? How else can we clean up this code?
Say file name
Mm-hmm.
variable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. So this right here is a floating piece of string, right? And like, what's the chance? Like, like, oops, right? Oops. You got to account for the fact that you're dumb and you'll make those little typos, right? You will. You will. Just as simple as that. And right there, it's a place where it's going to crash the program, right? Okay. So yeah, and what would be another reason to do what you just suggested?
If we want to change where it's saved, we can change it to
Yeah, yeah,
place.
yeah. It's more dynamic, right? For now, let's go const string uh, uh, save path or save file name. And let's just do this. I have talked about like we have talked about let's put that back. Application.datapath, application.persistent.datapath. Right? We have talked about that. We'll worry about that some other time. Like I'll go over that some other time. It's just, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, but no, I mean, like now we're getting to a point where this code looks really clean to me. Like I feel like we could give this to somebody, who hasn't taken this course and say, read these 2 or 3 pieces of documentation on like on StreamReader, StreamWriter, and then show them this code and they might be able to read it, right? Which is a pretty good test of like whether or not your code's readable. Uh, Definitely the case that by decoupling like all of these different processes and having them each in their own thing, if you were to come back to this code 6 months from now, you'd probably be able to immediately read it and be like, oh yeah, and oh yeah. Notice also not a single comment. I don't think, maybe there's a piece of commented code. Right? Here, our task list. It's kind of neat, right? Task list, yeah. Yeah. And actually, I will say about a task list. I use Trello, right? It's a Kanban board. You can use Jira or Hack and Plan or whatever, right? Very useful. Very, 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 very useful to be able to say, oh, what did I work on 6 months ago, or even like a week ago, man. I forget my shit all the time. So I do actually recommend keeping a track record of your task list. And another thing, just as a quick retrospective, okay, so at the beginning of the class, I was like, oh, hey, we're probably missing something, right? But I said, like, don't worry, we'll figure it out. What were we missing now that we're looking at this, right? What's something we were missing? Load data, format, save, figure out save data stuff, clean up code, right? We got to name, but it's there. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. Is there anything else that we can do to clean up our code? This is starting to look really good. Like, I mean, maybe I'll show this to somebody and some people that. Okay, thank you. That's great. And see what they say. We should probably test again. But yeah. Anybody have any other ideas how we can clean this up? Let's go look at our list. Class notes, naming conventions, consistency, formatting, Simplicity, do one thing's polite. Maybe towards politeness. I mean, we could maybe look at some of our language that we used, right? We could take, so these, well, we'll see. Like I like to package these in their own public static class personally. Not so much for here because there's only two, but like when you have a lot of them, it's nice if it's on its own public static class that has its own constant, because it's kind of like its own enumeration then. What about this? What about this? Region. So this is like a comment that we're going to collapse. Region. Load data from HD. We can do that. Let's put some space there. Right. That helps it be more readable, right? Towards politeness, right? Like if you don't want to read the code on us loading data from the HD, you don't need to. And right now, if somebody were to go read over this, they'd be like, oh, they're loading data from the HD there. Right? Yeah. Yeah. In old school days, before you had access to the region keyword, they would actually package that in its own function. But because we're only doing that there, it's fine. Right? Although maybe we would want to package it in a function if we were in later context doing it multiple times, right? I don't know, right? And package as a function and take as a parameter the file you want to read, right? That could be a thing, but whatever. Scaling it later on. I think over here. Well, oh wait, guys, we should have tested our code because we are not working. We have an error. So let's go test. Yeah, no, I mean, I said it just a minute ago. It's like we should test our code, but I didn't do it. Notice that? That's my hypocrisy kicking in. What time is it? Are we out of time? Oh shit, we are actually at the end of class. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly find a party that looks good to. Okay, this one. I'm gonna hit save. I'm gonna re-roll, and I'm gonna load. Oh, it did work. Oh, maybe I just don't know how to read. Oh yeah, no, it does work. Okay, sorry, I just don't know how to read. Okay, but anyways, I'm sorry, I misread there. So over here we could close this and we say save data to HD, right? And then we close the region here. And region. Cool. And now we've collapsed our code a little bit more, and it's more polite. It's more polite, right? So yeah, that's the cleanest, my cleanest answer for part one. I think that, I'll show it to a buddy and see if I can figure out another thing or two, but I think that's the answer. Okay, cool, good class. Any other questions before we go? Thumbs up. Okay. You feel like you learned a lot? Yeah?